Kayley, and I'm here to talk today about the importance of donor-first communications. Who am I? I'm Digital Marketing Operations Lead at Manifesto, which means I oversee all of our digital marketing strategy work. I'm also a trustee for a charity called Melanoma Focus. I've worked with small and large charities over the last 7 years, and that's after 15 years experience in online marketing. And I work at Manifesto, which is the digital experience agency for change makers. We're committed to delivering purposeful and positive impact for people, planet, and society. We take pride in creating award-winning digital experiences, products, and services that are measurably ethical, inclusive, sustainable, and joyful. But what are donor-first communications? Well, essentially, it's putting what the donor wants to see front and centre. And I've got a great example of this for you. The RNIB. So their latest strategy kicked off because they realised they were starting to age out with their donor base becoming older and older. And they realised that younger audiences perceived them as quite stuffy. So they embarked on a TikTok strategy, putting aside any sort of previous brand voice, brand guidelines, and just embraced the fast-paced and engaged moving style of TikTok. This isn't just a vanity project. This is part of a specific strategy to appeal to those younger audiences. And it's been successful. It's led to an increase in memberships and online engagement, as well as creating a whole new revenue stream selling merch via the TikTok shop. And this is another example. This is a letter I received from Mind after making a donation in memory of a friend who I'd lost to mental health. And to receive a letter, not only addressed to me personally, but to remember the name of the person who I donated in memory of, meant a lot to me. It's a small gesture, but that piece of paper through the post felt very heartfelt. And one final example here, we've got here WaterAid, starting about change starts with water. The obvious thing here might have been to show, I don't know, a child drinking clean water or a reservoir or something more watery, but they're showing people at the front and centre, people who we can connect with, who are advocates, who are passionate about a cause. And then in the text there, we've got change starts with water, change starts with you. It's human and it's people focused and it's appealing to potential donors. So it's not rocket science, but it's easily overlooked in a world where we have 5 different points of sign off and this person's input and that person's input. It's easy to lose the essence of what we're actually trying to deliver with a piece of communication. But if we could just keep who are you talking to and what do they want front and centre, then you're off to a good start. Got a couple of examples of some personas for a charity I worked with here who are very different, and the way we might talk to those personas is very different. So this is a pet charity, and one persona that they have is a pet-loving family. This might be a youngish family, a couple of kids. They might have multiple dogs or cats in the house. Kids might be at primary school or at high school age. And then we have pining previous pet owners who again are pet lovers, but perhaps their living environment has changed. They can't have a pet themselves anymore. Or perhaps they've lost a previous pet and due to the person's own age, they don't feel it's appropriate to get another one. So for whatever reason, despite being a pet lover, they can't have one anymore. So their motivations for engaging with a pet charity are completely different. The pet-loving family might really care about being a great pet owner. What's the latest thinking on flea treatments? What's the latest advice on nutrition or training? Whereas a pining previous pet owner is going to care more about that emotional connection that they used to have with an animal, and can they capture that again? So the way that we talk to those audiences might be completely different. For the pet-loving family, we might signpost them to online courses, helping them be the best pet owners they can be and appealing to what we know they care about. Whereas for the previous pet owners, We might share stories of animals in our care who we've rescued, who've been through experiences but are now with loving families again, so that this audience can see that emotional connection with pets. And then the ask that we might go to those potential donors with will change as well. So for a pet loving family, we might ask them to take part in a participation event. If you've got kids in primary school and high school, and maybe brownies or cubs, maybe there's PTA, there's lots of different sort of audiences, micro audiences that this audience can go to ask for donations. Whereas a pining previous pet owner, a sponsorship product might appeal more to them, so they can connect with an animal and its story and see how that animal's life turns out and really feel that they get to know that animal. So in an ideal world, you'd sit down, you'd analyse your CRM data, you'd look at audience asks, you'd have one-on-one conversations with donors, and you'd try to build a picture of sort of those clusters of audiences so that you know how best to reach them and with what content to reach them with. For a lot of us, that's a big project. We might not have the skills, the budget, or the resource to do that. So it might boil down to simply age groups. So if you're in that boat, I'm going to share a little bit of information about giving behaviours by age group from our lovely friends at YouGov. So it will surprise no one that older age groups are more likely to have donated to charity in the past 90 days. You can see that the likelihood to give declines as donors get younger, and that's the case for both one-off donations and for regular giving. However, there are other touch points where younger audiences are much more likely to engage with the charity, in some instances even more likely to engage than older audiences. And this gives you an opportunity to build a connection with that young audience at a young age with the whole of their life ahead of them, giving you a really strong start to think about maximising lifetime value. So, for example, when it's emergency appeals, those sort of very one-off, here's an emergency, donate now, it's front of every newspaper, front of everyone's mind, those young audiences are likely to take action quickly, more so than older audiences. They're also more likely to sign a petition than sort of millennial and Gen X's in the middle there. And they're also more likely to actually require the services of a charity, which if you can reach out and make that real connection at that moment of providing a service, that donor may feel that they want to support you in future as a way to say thank you and show their appreciation for the service that you offered. 50% of Gen Z shares information about causes or fundraisers on their social profiles at least once a week. Like, that is a big comms calendar that you have access to if you can tap into those audiences and leverage that awareness. And that compares to millennials and Gen X, who share 50% of who share monthly, and only 12% of baby boomers, share more than occasionally. So it's huge differences, but they're important differences to be aware of. So how do we stay donor first through the whole marketing funnel, from that awareness and initial engagement moment right up the way to a conversion ask? I'm going to give you a couple of examples of what good donor first messaging looks like and how you might measure that. So my favorite acronym in marketing, TOFU, top of funnel activity. We want to think about tailoring content to the platform and to the moment. Content should really have a purpose. So whether that's to entertain, amuse, or inform, think about what you're giving the potential donor. What service or hole in the moment of their life are you looking to fill? This should not be, I have a thing to talk about and I want to tell people about it. It should be very much more, what are our audiences doing and how can I fit into that day, into what they care about? And prioritize the platform that they're on and comment and what you typically see with that sort of content over your own brand voice and your own way of talking. Otherwise, it will feel clunky, it won't fit in, and people are more likely to scroll past it, assuming it's advertising content. If you're producing video, it needs to hook within the first 2 seconds. No sort of opening lockup or intro music. You need to get right in there with a snippet that will keep people on your video and not just scroll past it. There's a couple of great examples on the right here. So this is from Cancer Research UK, the video, What are cancer waiting times? And they have a whole series of videos that are specifically around questions that people ask about cancer treatment. So they are reaching people who are maybe at the very start of their cancer diagnosis. Maybe a friend or family member is looking at the diagnosis, and they're answering those questions in really clear and concise ways. You've also got this scroll on the right-hand side. This is Trussell sharing information about Labour Party finances and the Chancellor's announcements. And the way that they've written that post, you can see the amount of engagement on it. So they're reaching huge audiences. And that's not just to the benefit of building a connection with them, but they're also educating people on what's important to Trussell and what they're trying to get more people to care about to help meet the mission of the charity. And if you are doing well, you will start to see an improvement in video completion rates, improvements in shares, likes, and comments. If you're looking at paid advertising, you might start to see your cost per click or your cost per 1,000 impressions come down. And if you're delivering emails, you'll see lower unsubscribe rates. What about bottom of the funnel? Similar to before, keep in mind, who is it for and what are they doing right now? Is it reasonable that the action you want people to take fits into the moment that you're reaching someone? You also need to keep that early hook to capture attention and make sure that you're not wasting the moment. The ask should be tailored to the content. Every now and again, I see a really weird charity ask that you just know has been the strapline that's been signed off and it doesn't match the creative that it's attached to. And think about maximizing that ease of conversion. So send them right into the funnel, right into a really smooth journey, whatever it might be, make it feel really seamless and consistent. This is a great example I love about it from Age UK that opens straight off the bat with, I don't like Christmas now. And if you can imagine, this ad is serving around Christmas time on Instagram to users whose feeds are probably full of buy this, product experience, visit. And this is really cuts through, I don't like Christmas now. It's interruptive and it's surprising and it bites through because of how different it is. And if you're doing this well, you might see an increase in click-through rate, a decrease in cost per click. You'll see increases in conversion rate, cheaper cost per conversion, higher amount of time spent on a website, and a stronger website conversion rate. And then we can't forget about stewardship. After that first conversion, how do you keep building a relationship so that you can thank the donor, you can show that you're appreciative of what they've done for you, and you can maximize that conversion, that lifetime value by talking about what you are doing with the donation that they've given you and keep building on that relationship. The best way to do this is just to talk to your supporters. What are those moments that they tend to discover your charity? If you're a health charity, is it a point of diagnosis or is it a point of treatment? If it's an animal charity, is it a moment of crisis? Is it adopting their own animal? Try and figure out what those moments are that are unique to you. And once you know how those entry pathways happen and what people's motivators are, you can start to design that sort of long-term journey that means that you're driving people content in a way that makes sense to them and is of value to them. And you can do this manually, or you can do this with all sorts of clever MarTech platforms. Once you understand what drives and motivates your most loyal advocates, what you build and how you talk will be more and more valuable to them. And don't ever forget to talk about the impact of their donation. They want to know that if they fundraised, that money is going to great causes and you're doing something with it. I'm just calling out this email I've received from Oxfam on the right here. So it's really tailored. Kayley, first name, you've been part of our community for over 10 years. In reality, I think I made a one-off donation 10 years ago, but that makes me part of the community now. They're flattering me. I'm standing for justice and equality. It's the CEO talking to me directly, so I feel really special. We're urgently looking for 594 people like me. That's a big enough number where I feel like we're going to make an impact, but small enough number whereas I feel my contribution is significant in that pot. And then we've got really specific asks, a regular gift this February and why they need it. I love this email for lots of different reasons. It ends with a value exchange at the end. And then we've got this sort of incremental popcorn type pricing where I think, oh, what's the difference? An extra £2 a month? Of course I can do that. So it's nudging up how much I might have been likely to give because the £7 feels so much, not much bigger than the £5 a month ask. But anyway. So the next thing I'd like to talk about is secrets of a great donor first donate page. So you've got people in, you've shown them great content, you're seeing the results, you understand who they are and what they care about. What are the tips and tricks and conversion rate optimization skills that you can put to good use to help maximize that conversion rate once users are on the page? Number one, remove friction. So the easiest way, the first thing you should be doing is making sure that you've got a wide mix of payment methods. Did you know 21% of regular gifts are given via Apple Pay? So if you're not offering Apple Pay, where a lot of people's preferred method of payment online is Apple Pay, you're potentially missing out not just on one-off gifts, but regular giving. And if you Google increasing conversion rate with additional payment methods, you will see this 30% figure all over the internet. I have not found a study that backs up this figure, but it's shared in many, many places. And I think we can see common sense that the more payment methods that you offer, the more likely you are to make sure that people aren't put off donating because their preferred payment method isn't an option. Secondly, immediacy bias and tangible impact. Immediacy bias is a tendency that people prefer to give to a cause that will have an impact more quickly than a longer term impact. There's lots of reasons why we think we might not want to do this. We want to build long-term programs, but unfortunately, it's human nature. We want to have an impact right now. We always want something to happen sooner rather than later. And tangible impact we see a lot of. So that is making sure that the donation that someone makes isn't just falling into an empty pot. It feels like it's earmarked for something specific. And that doesn't mean that it has to be restricted funding. It can still be unrestricted funding. We can have lots of words like could and might and hedging words to do some heavy lifting for us. We're not misleading anybody, but we're helping people to feel the real impact that their donation might have, which will make it feel more impactful than if it just disappears into the ether. So the DEC page on the right is a great example of this. So not only do we have these shopping lists, but we have iconography that helps distinguish between the different donation prompts that are being asked of the audience. And you can see that immediacy bias is being leveraged on only the higher value prompts. So we've got emergency food and emergency shelter, which feels very immediate and needed now, whereas the lower prompt is less urgent feeling. It could provide blankets. Like that is a great prompt, but it's not pushing that immediacy. So on some level, I may be being nudged to give slightly more if I am the sort of person who wants to have an impact right now. Next is the unfortunately named identifiable victim effect. This is sort of standard terminology that was developed in the world of conversion rate analysis is not a term that I like, but if you want to look into this more, it's useful to know what the term you can go away and Google is. And this is basically our case studies and our success stories. So showing a specific person and how a donation helped them individually. So like humans like storytelling, and this plays out in donation behaviours. For example, Save the Children conducted a study several years ago where they tested the impact of statistics versus a specific case study versus statistics and a case study. And it was the conversion journey with the case study that worked better than statistics, or even worked better than the case study and statistics. The statistics just watered down the impact of that individual case study. And this won't work for everyone, perhaps, but test it. It's a repeated behaviour that we see a lot. So you should definitely be testing, does this work for your charity? Is it relevant for you? Perceived impact is another great one, linked to tangible impact. So when people feel that their donation matters more, they're more likely to give. So Just Giving see this a lot. If people have a £500 target in a participation event that they're fundraising for, when people get to 480, 490, people who land on that page are much more likely to give because they think my donation is going to be the one that tips over the edge. It's the one that counts. It's the one that matters, rather than in the middle of the pot where you think, is this even worth donating to? It's not really going anywhere. And you can experiment with this on donation page in different ways. If you do have a specific amount that you want to fundraise for, get that amount out there. Find ways to show that what people are giving matters towards that target. So we've got here on the right to your impact. I don't know if this little rectangle is to scale, but it makes the user feel that my impact is physically moving towards that target. One of our charities that we worked with added a progress bar for their Christmas appeal, and they found a 6% increase in conversion rate with that progress bar. And finally, for our community fundraisers out there, Map Creative works really well. One test that we ran, testing Map Creative versus sort of images of happy people doing the participation event, saw a 200% higher click-through rate. Especially if they're people who already like running, like cycling, like walking. If you can show these are the landmarks, this is the scenery you're going to see, it helps them imagine where they are in that event and excites them to take part in it. And finally, just think easy, think joyful, think motivating. This is a lovely donation journey from the RNLI. We've got really clear calls to action. Orange, choose one off, choose monthly. It's very easy. We've got loads of payment options here, critically including Apple Pay. You've also got the fundraising regulator there, so it feels like safe. This isn't a dodgy phishing site. This is real. I can trust it. The images of people looking me in the eye make me think, oh, I'm being watched. I can't mess around. I need to complete this. Well, that's my theory of why people looking you in the eye helps, builds that human connection. And then once we get into the donation funnel, we've got this prompt on most popular, which helps reduce the cognitive load, reduce choice paralysis, and I bet it helps nudge up from what their average gift amount tends to be. And we do have impact-related messaging, but it's not overpowering. It's supporting me, it's reassuring me. We are the charity that saves lives at sea, but it's not taking me away to tell me a story and send me off down a rabbit hole and forget that I was in the middle of making a donation. And if you are just edging into the world of conversion rate optimization or improving your donor communications and you don't really know where to start, one place to start is, well, what's going well and what's not going well right now? Like some kind of benchmark might help you think, this is where my hole is, these are where my red flags are. Let's work on that bit first. So this data is all from M&R benchmarks, who every year work with charities to benchmark data so that we can see how the industry is moving as a whole. I'm not going to walk you through all of these, but you can use this data to benchmark your own performance, find your strengths, find your weaknesses. Obviously, these numbers will differ for every charity. Like, there will be no charity in the world who is the average on every point, but it gives you a place to start. And finally, Looker Studio is a great way of tracking how you're improving over time. So Looker Studio is a free tool. It can plug into Google Analytics. It can plug into Google Ads, can plug into lots of other things via connectors. And you can make these really nice dashboards that you can add commentary to if you like. You can have numbers, charts, tables, funnels, whatever you like, so that you can see, when I made this action, this is what we saw afterwards. And it helps you tell the story to stakeholders internally that what you're doing has purpose and it has value. Thank you so much if you've got this far. I'm going to walk through 5 key actions that you can take right now before we wrap up completely. So number 1, check your donation funnel takes Apple Pay. If it doesn't, get that on there tomorrow. Number 2, get straight into your videos. No brand build up, no millennial pause, get straight in there with a hook. Number 3, set benchmarks. Use Looker Studio to focus your attention on the metrics that matter most and understand what it is specifically that you're trying to improve. Number 4, define different audience personas, their needs, their preferences, whether that's something complex or whether that's as basic as age groups, as basic as are they a service user or are they a friends or family? Just, it's okay to start somewhere and not be perfect, but think about what the needs of that audience are, and then spend time on the platforms where they are, understand what content they're being exposed to, and think about how you can fit into that. And finally, test maps in your event fundraising creative. And that is me. Thank you very much for listening. And get in touch if you have any questions on any of the above. I'm always happy for a chat.